Well, what's up everybody? We working on Daisy right now, but that's not actually why I'm making the video. Just gonna do a quick been getting asked a lot about the turquoise car and how it's driving and why I haven't made any videos of it driving, and really just been busy and just haven't really thought about making a video driving again. Plus I'm not completely happy with the way it's driving. There's a few things that need to be done. This fast EFI setup, not all that great, at least what I have found so far. The issues I'm having with the fast setup is, I mean, the idle, the cruising, and the wide open seems to be okay. The problem I have is the transition periods in between those. About half the time, it runs great. No hesitation, no nothing, but then the other half the time, you know, upon light throttle, you know, just accelerating from a stoplight, there's like a window where it'll do it every single time when it's screwing up, that it'll just hesitate. It's and then you just give it a little bit more throttle. Anyway, Walter called me and interrupted the video. This is all just on my cell phone. So yeah, so you'll have a hesitation where it's like and then you get just a little bit more throttle and it'll like snap out of it and just clear up and poof, gone. You know, I called fast on it, and you know, I get the runaround like, you're probably just an idiot that installed it kind of thing. But actually, you know, they're telling me, oh, you need to watch the fuel pressure. Maybe there's like a window where your fuel pressure regulator is just dropping fuel pressure. It's like, it's not going to drop like 50 psi and like just a fraction of a throttle response. There's a base throttle pressure, or base fuel pressure of, I have it at 50 right now just to try and boost up the fuel. But I also have it programmed at 50 psi too, so the computer calibrates for it. But yeah, that's not it. It needs a overdrive. I am putting an overdrive in this sucker because at 70 miles an hour, she's spinning 3,000 RPM, and you know, 3,000 RPM in a big block with Borlas and 2.5 inch exhaust, it tends to get a little noisy inside the car. So if I put a A518 transmission, which I have located a few of them in the junkyard. I went to the junkyard yesterday here in Vegas, pick apart, and there's a couple sitting in the junkyard. So I have to go do a NASCAR thing today. I got hired to go help one of the K&N cars on the dirt track, so that'd be kind of cool. Cup cars on dirt. But anyways, so I think tomorrow morning I'm going to attempt to go to the wrecking yard and pull a transmission, because they got the Van Nuys show coming up in late October, which is the California Mopar show and swap meet, and me and my buddies were all going to jump in this thing. We're just going to take a little road trip down there and have fun. So, but in the meantime, I want to get the transmission, so because it's not, you can't just bolt an A518 transmission to the back of a big block. You got to cut the bell housing off of the automatic, and then you have to buy an adapter bell housing that bolts to the pump, and then I'm going to get the transmission rebuilt and beefed up, bigger throttle body. I got to buy another torque converter. I got to get the drive shaft shortened because it's got an overdrive in it, so it's, you know, the drive shaft is slightly shorter. And I got to wire it up too, because an A518 transmission will have a 0.69 to 1 overdrive, and it'll have a lockup torque converter. So that's like 33% more efficient on the drivetrain. Which I don't really give a shit about fuel mileage. If I really cared about fuel mileage, I wouldn't be driving this. I drive this thing every freaking day. I got 500 miles on this car since last week, since I first put it on the roads. I've hardly ever used my truck anymore, because this is way more cooler. And yes, it does get a lot of attention everywhere I go. Of course, you know, you'll get your good and your bad attention. You know, I've had people follow me as I pull into a gas station and ask, "You want to sell your car?" No, not really. You really don't want to sell your car? No. What if I give you cash? What else would you give me? You know, I had some people get kind of upset that I wouldn't sell them my car. You know, and then one guy's, well, what's the not for sale price? Like 50 grand. Well, that's too much for that car. Well, this is not for sale then, is it? But no, I want to enjoy it. That's why it's not for sale. So yeah, the fuel injection system, not totally happy with it right now. You know, it sucks because half the time it runs great. And then the other half of the time, you just want to put your foot through the floor and just blow the damn thing up because you're pissed off because it won't run right. The AC's not working yet. I kind of fucked up on that. First day I had the car on the roads, I didn't realize I had the AC on, and the AC system wasn't charged. You know, because there's really no draw on the motor. There's nothing in the system, so you don't even know it's running, and the engine runs so quiet that, anyways, I didn't know it was on, so I ran like 2 days with the AC compressor on, and no Freon, no oil, no nothing in it. So I smoked this sucker. I mean, there used to be a red cap right here. The red cap schmelted. It's only melted inside the lines. Now I probably have to cut that fitting off and make a new, weld a new line to it. It melted all the plastic caps off the back of the pump. Surprisingly though, the pump still spins. I can still spin the pump, but I can feel like a little bit of debris in there. So, or maybe I don't know. The pump might be okay, but I went ahead and bought a new one because, you know, I fucked up. I left the thing on. I didn't know it was on. So I got a new pump coming, and not happy with EFI. You know, I like it sometimes, and then half the time it's kind of like pissing me off, but I don't know. I think what I'm going to have to do is buy the better ECM, because Fast has two different ECMs. They have the Easy EFI, which is what I have, and then they have the fully programmable ECM, and I may have to upgrade to the programmable one, because I think, because you can only adjust the air fuel, you can't really adjust the fuel map on the EFI. All you can do is adjust your air fuel targets, you know, what you want the air fuel ratio to be at this certain window, which is, you can only adjust that at idle, cruising, and wide open. And you can, you know, like an accelerator pump on a throttle, on a carburetor, where it has little squirters that squirt fuel down the venturis. This kind of has a little bit of a mode for that, where you can adjust the fuel as the throttle is moving, but when the throttle's not moving, that doesn't do anything. I've tried ramping that way up to see if that would fix the issue. Didn't do shit. So, which, actually, you know what? I'll show you what you can really adjust. So let me go grab the keys real quick and show you what you can adjust, and it's really nothing. That's why I need to get the fully programmable one, so that way I can actually adjust the full fuel map. Moving around a lot, I know. I can adjust the full fuel map and tune out all these lean spots, rich spots, and because I think this Easy EFI, it's probably okay on a rock stock engine, which mine's not stock. I mean, it's not far from stock, but it's not stock. So yeah, not impressed with Easy EFI anyway. So let me grab the keys real quick. All right. So here, I just have the handheld just set. See, Sammy's barking right now because she loves to bite the exhaust on cars. I don't know why. She does it on the race car. So she's waiting to go bite the exhaust. So this is just temporarily sitting here because once the car's all tuned and done, I'm taking this off because I don't really like to look at it. You know, I'd rather just look at the original gauges. So that's just sitting there for now. She hears the keys. She's like, fire the sucker up. She's gonna hear the fuel pump and go crazy. All right, so that's what we. All right, hold on. I gotta turn this down, otherwise freaking YouTube will demonetize everything. All right, so we'll go to home, advanced. We'll go to air fuel targets. And really, that's all you can adjust. I mean, I have mine, you know, pretty close to the middle of the range of what they want. And I mean, I pulled a spark plug, and the spark plugs look absolutely great. I mean, they look almost brand new, and that's after 500 miles. So, you know, when the car is running correctly, the air fuels are point on, or on point. It was asked backwards. So it's just a hesitation that I have every once in a while, which I'll try and get that on video later, but because I need to make a video of this and send it to Fast and be like, what the fuck, guys. But yep, that's and then you can adjust, you know, the fuel pressure, which I have mine set at 50, like I said. And then fuel enrichment, that's basically like the accelerator pump, you know, acceleration fuel. You can go to fuel well, anyway, that tells you basically what this does. It's basically like the squirters on a carburetor, and I don't really need that much. I mean, the car runs, actually I can probably add 1, but I've had that all the way up to 8, maxed it out. It didn't fix my hesitation issue. I think there's just a window in the fuel map that this cannot self-learn. So you go back to live data. We'll go ahead and fire it up and watch Sammy go ape shit. The idle's dropped down. I have the idle set at 650. I mean, this engine runs so smooth it can idle at 600 probably. Sammy's biting the exhaust. Sam, are you biting the exhaust? Get it, Sam. Get it. She's a dork. Alright. Yeah, so there we go. 650. Every time I hear metal cleaning, that's Sammy biting the exhaust. So I mean, the air temperature, like the stock air cleaner on this car, you know, the unsilenced, it is horrible for underhood air temperature. Sam, stop that. Here, let me shut this off. I mean, the engine temp, or the underhood temperature of the air going in past the air filter and down the throttle body, because the sensor's in the throttle body, it's 160 degrees of air temp going into the motor. Sam, better not be messing up my chrome. So, I mean, this thing would run probably far better with like a dual snorkel, and then you actually hook tubes to the snorkel down to the front of the core support, so that way it's drawing in fresh air, because there's just a whole lot of underhood temperature, and that's with my exhaust manifolds already ceramic coated. So let me show you real quick. Yep, I had my manifolds ceramic coated to keep the engine temperature down, and which it does. I mean, I can hold my hand right above this thing and it doesn't burn, you know, the heat doesn't burn your hand. But with all the other temperatures and the air through the radiator, I mean, the air from the radiator is just going right into, it's just the air cleaner. So underhood temperatures, yeah, suck with the unsilenced air cleaner. If you could get more airflow under the hood, you know, basically, if you like kicked up the back of the hood to where air could flow, maybe. But actually, that might actually create a reverse flow, because air will be trying to go into the engine bay. So definitely needs some colder air going into this thing. These are not summertime cars. What else? Oh, no overheating whatsoever. This radiator that I got, from the Mopar swap meet, it has 1 1/8" tubes in it, and I've been sitting in traffic downtown, 110 degrees, sweating my balls off, and car stays right at 200 degrees. Doesn't overheat whatsoever. And that's sitting there idling for like 30-40 minutes at 110 degree temperatures. And that's with, you know, a little bit of restriction of air of the condenser in front of the radiator. Now, if I had the AC on, the temperature is probably going to go up, because the condenser is going to create heat, and then the radiator will be sucking in the heat. But the radiator that I got from that swap meet, like $215. Great radiator. I just prove it. I mean, I did just prove it. I mean, 110 degree temperatures, summer dry heat, and engine stays within its limits. Let's see, what other issues am I having with this thing? Oh, okay, the suspension. I had a hell of a time. See, there they go. I had a hell of a time setting the caster, camber, and the toe, because the bump steer on these Mopars is freaking horrible. I mean, I would have to drive the car, jump out, adjust the toe, drive the car, adjust out, adjust the ride heights. I mean, I drove around for an hour, you know, with the adjusting my torsion bars, which these torsion bars are shot. I mean, they're junk. I have those adjuster bolts basically maxed out to hold ride height. So I had Ed at the Mopar shop in California. He ordered me some more torsion bars. So I'm going to be putting slightly bigger 440 torsion bars in it, which stock 440 torsion bars are like
.92s, so I'm going with .96, just to make up for the weight of the nose. So I'm going to be putting those in. That'll get rid of, that'll at least make the front. The car actually handles really good. I mean, I spent a long time adjusting this freaking suspension. Again, the problem I have is, I made those tubular uppers. There they are. I made those tubular uppers with 4 degrees more caster. Well, actually, really 3 degrees, but I have it set at 4 degrees right now. And I did put a taller ball joint on the front, or on the top of it. That actually helped some of the geometry. I mean, the car, normally when you go into the corner, the top of the tire will kind of go out a little bit because the geometry on these cars was just freaking junk. Well, that 1 inch taller ball joint actually helped some of that, and it keeps the tire from going out, and it just makes it stay neutral. One way you could actually fix that, or make it to where it's even better, is if you had a well, see, the ball joints on these cars versus a typical race cars I run are reversed. The ball joints on the control arm and not the spindle. But if you could bring the lower control arm down on the ball joint side, say 1 inch, then it'd be even better, because then when you went into the corner, the top of the tire would actually camber in. Anyways, back to the shitty bump stop, or bump steer. See the height of the tie rod right there? Basically the ball joint on the tie rod? Well, that is much lower than the ball joint on the spindle. And you compare, there's a height difference between those two, and then the height of the front of the control arm, the pivot point of the control arm, and then the pivot point of the inner tie rod. So the problem is, when you start adding caster to these cars, you're drastically lowering the outer tie rod. So when you do that, you're changing the geometry of the steering, and it's making the already horrible bump steer even worse. So what I actually want to do is the ball joint, I'm going to buy 2 more, and I'm going to elongate the 2 holes that are in the ball joint so I can actually rotate the ball joint. So I'm going to try and elongate the holes and rotate the ball joint to where it brings the outer tie rod up. So that way it'll try and fix some of that shitty bump steer. Again, these cars are horrible with bump steer, and when you add caster, it just makes it even worse. So, but if you can add caster and fix your bump steer, it's way more better. So the car actually does handle really good. I can take highway on ramps, just as fast as modern day cars, and it's actually, I could actually just leave those tie rods alone, because I found a neutral zone between the shitty bump steer and the caster camber and all that, and the car actually handles really good right now, but I would like to make it better and just get rid of that bump steer issue. So I'm going to try and do, like I said, buy another ball joint and elongate the 2 holes, so that way I can rotate the ball joint and then bring the outer tie rod up, so that way it'll even out the height difference of the ball joint to tie rod difference. Yeah, it probably didn't make any sense, but in my head it does. So I at least know what I'm doing. I just may not know how to say it. Again, it's all race car stuff I learned racing circle track over the years. So that's another one of the issues I have. All right. Another issue is the oil temperature on this thing. I'm assuming gets pretty hot. I mean, I beat the shit out of this car. Let me turn the camera around.
Like I said, I beat the shit out of this car. I don't baby this thing. Every time I drive this sucker, it's on the rev limiter. Except for when it's bouncers in the car. She doesn't like that. She's a wussy. Oh, yeah, shit in my teeth. Or not shit, but cereal. Yeah, she's a wuss. Actually, it was kind of funny. I took her to Chipotle, and when we pulled into the parking lot, you know how they have the sprinklers and there's little islands in the parking lot with trees and everything. But one of the sprinklers was leaking, so we had water running down the parking lot, just a little stream of it. And so when you see that and you're a car guy, it's like, yep, I already know what I'm gonna do. So I come up to that, everything's normal, I'm just driving. As soon as I hit that water, I just fucking hammer it. I mean, this car does make a lot of power. It just lit them freaking tires up, just instant smoke, and I carried that shit for like 100 feet. And everybody in the parking lot just looking at us, and I'm like, yeah, that was fucking cool. And as the smoke's clearing, I look over at Amanda, and she's looking at me. She just has like instant bitch face on her, And I just look at her and I go, "You like them spinning tires, do you?" She wasn't amused, but to me that was fun, so I don't care. I know you're pissed off I didn't get that on camera, which I've smoked the tires on this thing so many times. Like I've sold a Charger to a guy just recently, and I took him for a ride, and I didn't think about recording it, but I've just taken him for a little drive, and I just freaking hammer it and yank the wheel, and we just started doing donuts and just smoke everywhere. And he's like, "Oh, you should have told me you were gonna do that. I would have recorded it." And I was like, "Oh, I wanted to catch you off guard. I didn't even think about that." But anyways. Where was I at? Oh, yeah, oil temperature. So, you know, when the car gets up to temperature, you start getting a little bit of that rocker clatter, which this still has the stock rockers in it, and they didn't make as much noise as it did when I first fired as they do now. I mean, rev limiters do wear out stock rockers. Because it's a stamped steel rocker that rotates on the shaft, and so it gets a lot of play in it, and you start getting that clatter. And actually, when you get that clatter, I'll show you, you're actually losing the profile of your cam, because actually let me just go grab a rocker.
Alright, so here's a stock rocker on a shaft, and so when the push rod pushes the rocker up, you know, it actually slides the rocker towards the cam, or towards the valve, and then when the push rod goes down, the valve actually slides the rocker towards the push rod, so it actually goes back and forth like this. You can see all the plates in this thing, you know, and there's probably a good 40 thousandths, 50. Yeah, that's probably a good 40-50 thousandths right there. So, and that's when you start getting that rocker clatter, that's this rocker sliding back and forth, which you are losing lift on the cam, because it takes lift to push the rocker this way, and then it takes so it going back and forth is you losing performance of the cam, because you're making up the slack in the rocker, in the stupid rocker shaft. So what I have done is,
so to fix that, what I have done, ooh, look at this. We got 3 Vega hatches here. You Mopar guys, or you Charger guys that like Daytonas, you know what those Vega hatches are for. So I'm going to be building some Daytona clones. Anyways, so I bought a set of PRW roller rockers. They're the bushing type, not the bearing type, which I kind of like the bushings better. Anyway, that will have 0 play in it, so what my cam will actually be pushing down on the valve. Plus I got 1.6 rockers instead of 1.5s, so that way, because my cam is only 475 lift, which isn't shit. I still got shit in my teeth, speaking of shit. Anyways, so it's 475 lift, which these heads are hogged out. I mean, they're ported damn good. So at 475 lift, the cam's not even using the heads. So at least with 1.6 rockers, it'll bump it from 475 to about 505, 506. So at least I'm going to be using more of the heads, and it'll add maybe a degree or 2 of duration. So at least it'll make this wussy cam 1 notch bigger wussy. So I'm waiting to put the roller rockers on, and then I'm going to take it to the dyno. So once Gil here at Speedway has the dyno available for me, and I have the 1.6 rockers on it, we're going to take it to the dyno and see what this sucker puts down to the tire. I'm thinking that it's going to put down at least 350 to the tire. That's what my ass is telling me when I'm sitting in the seat. So that's what I'm assuming. At 350 horsepower, that means the motor is probably making around like 425, 430, which is actually pretty good. And the car idles so smooth you wouldn't even know it has a cam in it. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to catch Gil off guard and tell him the motor's bone stock. Because, you know, when you first look at it, it looks bone stock. But, and then when he puts 350 tire, he's going to be like, "You're a fucking liar." But, so that's kind of where I'm at on this car. You know, I'm going to put the 1.6 rockers on it. I need to replace the AC pump. Still not happy with the ECM. I'm actually going to try and replace the factory ECM with the more tunable one. I'm actually, well, where I was going to with oil temperature and the rockers is, I actually bought an oil cooler for this thing too. So one of those adapter plates that goes where the oil filter is at. So I'm going to put an oil cooler on it too. So it'll have an external tranny cooler, internal radiator tranny cooler, an oil cooler, and obviously a nice radiator. Because the oil cooler, if you put an external oil cooler on an engine, it will actually help cool the engine. Because the oil gets hotter than the water. It does. Just the friction inside the motor and all that, the oil will get hotter than the water. So if you can cool the oil going back into the motor, you know, as the oil, it's not as much cooling as water, yeah, but cooler oil will help cool the metal, and it will actually drop the engine temperature of the car. So when I'm sitting in traffic at 200 degrees, maybe now with oil cooler it'd only be like 198, 197. Anyways, it will help cool it. I've done that on a circle track car where I put oil cooler on it, and it did help my water temp. It dropped it like 15 degrees putting a nice oil cooler, external oil cooler on the race motor. Of course, we're spinning like 8,000 RPM for like 30 minutes for 7,500. Let's see, what else? I just replaced my washer bottle. So I got a new washer bottle, got a new pump for the washer bottle. See, what else have I done to this thing? Yeah, I got the new True Track in it, which I don't think I posted a video on the True Track, but yeah, the original gear is just junk. I mean, it was pitted and it was making noise, and then the Sure Grip, yeah, it wasn't quite sure grippy. It was like 50-50 if it was gonna spin both tires. So I was like, ah, screw it. I just yanked them both out and replaced them with a brand new True Track unit, which is better than Sure Grip, and new gears, 223. I'm waiting for my seat upholstery, for my buddy seat, so I'm waiting on that. I'm going to be putting in a, you know, like kind of like a hidden switch to keep the car from being started. Just, you know, if I put it somewhere, so I'm gonna have like a kill switch on it. Radio works awesome. There's not really a whole lot. I mean, the car actually runs pretty damn good. It's just every once in a while I have the hesitation issue with the fuel injection. Yeah, that's just kind of an update video of what's going on with the car right now. As soon as the 1.6 rockers show up, I'm bolting those suckers on. I'm gonna go to the dyno. I don't really want to take it to the dyno right now, because you know it's like $300 for 3 pulls or something like that, and I don't want to spend $300 to see what it makes right now when I can just put the 1.6 rockers on. Yeah, and good. So one thing I would like to do though is these stock manifolds are killing horsepower. I've talked to Troy at RT Garage, which he's done tests on manifolds versus headers, and he's like, oh yeah, they're killing like 40 to 50 horsepower on a fairly mild build motor. And I was like, you know, and I don't know, I may just leave them on there because it looks cool. I mean, this isn't supposed to be a race car, but and when you know you're giving up that much power, it's like, oh man, I want to replace that. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just filling you guys in. But I'm actually going to get back on the yellow car. I can only work on this thing for about an hour because then I got to leave, go to the racetrack. But look, it's going from 3-inch exhaust to the new 3.5-inch exhaust with the bullet Borla. Oh, it's going to be a loud mother effer. So, way more betters. Because this is what I had for the 3-inch. You know, this is when I first got the TIG welder, so yeah, the TIGs aren't really all that great. I mean, they're okay, but, you know, now that I've got more experience on my belt with TIG welder, the new shit looks way better. Plus, this is mild steel, and everything I'm doing now is all stainless. I mean, I'm willing to spend the extra money just to do stainless because it will keep your temperatures down, and it just looks way better. So now everything is stainless. So I gotta build a new X pipe. Anyway, there's so much shit I gotta do with this yellow car to update it. I gotta yank this motor out so I can put the real motor in. I'm just waiting on the heads to be done. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, I'll just kind of update you guys on what's going on, and I'm gonna get back to work, try and get something done, so then I can go to the racetrack. See you guys.
You like them spinning tires, Walter?
Oh yeah, baby.